Good day to you, and welcome to Comparative Media, CMST 410, a 400-level research-based course. I don't know how much chance you've had to travel to other countries. I myself didn't start doing it seriously till I was 22 years old when my parents moved back to Britain, and when I would visit them, I would take the opportunity to take some really cheap trips over to the continent, as they called it, which would be France, Germany, Spain, etc. But I remember that first trip that I took to England to visit them when they moved back there. My parents are British. I remember watching TV one night and I tried to find television shows that I liked. And as I was skimming the channels, I was really shocked to find out that some shows started at 7:05 p.m., 7:15 p.m., 7:25 p.m., while other shows were starting at the top of the hour and bottom of the hour. And I was really puzzled by that because in the US, you're used to everything starting at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour so that you can quickly scan what TV shows you might want to watch and choose one and see it from the very beginning. But in Britain, that wasn't the case. I also noticed that there were tons of American television shows. At that time, there was Frasier, Friends, Seinfeld, a lot of movies that were American movies shown on British television every single night. But then the real topper was I was watching a British drama, and the couple came into the bedroom and took their clothes off and started making love. Now, there were not close-ups shown of their bodies, but yeah, both of them were naked, including the man. This was on primetime television, broadcast television. So those experiences got me really interested in how media might be different in other countries around the world. And that got me on a path and a career to investigating media around the world. So I developed this course, Comparative Media. I wrote the book for it, which took me 3 years to write and took me to 6 countries, to the highest levels of government and media regulation. For example, I was in the French regulator, the CSA. I was sitting in that organization at the top of a high-rise in the middle of Paris, interviewing a very top echelon regulator to come up with the material for this book. And so that's the basis of why I got interested in comparative media, and it's the level of expertise that I hope to bring to you, because in this class you're going to read a book that's been written by the professor, and it's not a third party book. It's written directly by the professor, and I've done research in the countries that I've written. So hopefully that's an advantage for you in this course. So what I'd like to do in the rest of the video is introduce you to the course. So if you have the syllabus handy, it's on D2L. We'll be using D2L quite a bit. The main tabs that we'll be using will be the Content tab, the Discussion tab, and the Assessment tab. Those are the 3 tabs that we use: Content, Discussions, and Assessment. And if you go into the Content tab, you'll see the syllabus. And I want you to have the syllabus handy because we're going to go over it now. And the first thing that I want to mention is this is entirely a DE course, or distance education course. It's going to be done completely online. And so you need to have internet access, and you need to have backup internet access. If you're trying to upload something at 11:59 a.m. and your internet service goes out, I'm not going to be able to accept it. I have to apply the same standards to the whole class. So you've got to make sure that you have a good internet connection. You've got to make sure also that you have a backup internet connection on days like today when it's snowing and you can't get to where you're going to go. So make sure you have that. You also need to have a device that you can listen to and watch videos on and hear them clearly. So whether that's going to be your phone or your laptop, your desktop, that's up to you. All right, so I've got a whole paragraph talking about the distance ed portion of the course. That's what starts off the syllabus. Then I have a whole bunch of department outcomes that are listed. I'm going to let you read those on your own. They are supposed to be applied to every single course that's taught in the Department of Communication Studies. So in those department outcomes, you can read about what every single course in our major is supposed to have as an outcome for all students. Then we have course goals, and these are my goals for this specific course. Number 1, I want you to understand the basic elements that comprise a media system. And what I mean by that briefly is when you watch TV, when you listen to a radio program, when you look at a web page, when you read a newspaper, a magazine, a film, etc., most of the time you're in the content. You're just thinking of the content. But behind that content is a whole system that brings influences to bear, which create things that, like all these different times that TV shows start in Britain, that are different from the things that we see in American television, in this case, all shows starting at the top of the hour. So if we look behind the content, we can see the media systems, and that's one thing I want you to understand from this course. I also want you to compare elements of a media system, and we'll talk about what those elements are. They comprise the chapters in the book. And we're going to do that across 8 countries. This book focuses on 8 countries in particular, but you can apply this material that you learn in this course to any country in the world. There are over 200 countries. The 8 countries that we're going to study are France, Sweden, the UK, the USA, Mexico, China, Lebanon, and Ghana. Now, when I wrote the book, I had not visited China. I've since visited China. I had not visited Lebanon, and I had not, those 2 countries, China and Lebanon, I had outsourced as far as the writing in the book goes. I had other authors write the material on those 2 chapters, but I went to all the other 6 countries over a period of 3 years to research for this book. The third thing that's a goal for this course is I want you to understand theoretical issues explaining information flow. If you look at the world and you look at like a graphic image of all the information that's flowing around it through television, radio, film, the internet, if you look at like the flow of it, it's not always in even directions between 2 countries. Sometimes it's just from one direction going, just for example, from the US to Mexico, but not too much of Mexico coming in. We're going to study some issues for certain countries on information flow. Fourthly, we're going to identify cultural and political assumptions behind different media forms and content. In other words, there are decisions made about what content to let air on television and radio in certain countries and what content to prohibit, to make a finable offense if there is a violation that's occurred. So we're going to find out what the culture and what the politics are behind the decisions that are made to influence the way that media content is shaped. And then lastly, since this is a 400 level course, I want you to be able to conduct original research. That means your own research. You'll be doing that at the end in a paper, comparing 2 media samples, for example, 2 television shows, or 2 radio programs, or 2 magazines. You're going to compare 2 programs, 2 media samples from 2 different countries, one of them being the US and another being a country of your choice. The book for this class, as I mentioned, is a book that I wrote. It's called Comparing Media from Around the World. It was published in 2006. Some of the information is out of date because it's 2006, but the beginning parts of the chapter, the theoretical portion, will set up our ability to analyze all media systems in the current age. And it's a book that as I mentioned, I took 3 years to write, traveling to many different countries. So hopefully you'll be getting firsthand rich information. Now, I do have a statement on the syllabus about special accommodations. If you have been certified through the Office of OASIS at ESU that you need special accommodations, please let me know. That probably will apply to you in the case of the quizzes for the class if you need more time. Now let's move to the course requirements. The first is instructor videos, like this one right here. So for every class where there's a quiz, and you can look at the syllabus to find out when those classes are, you'll need to watch the instructor video that I will post by noon on Tuesday or Thursday. And once you watch the instructor video, then you're ready to take the quiz. The quiz will not appear on your D2L until you watch the instructor video. So the instructor videos will be posted under the Content tab, and the quiz will be posted under Assessments. So sometimes in my videos, I provide a little hint to answer the quiz question, but most of the quizzes come from the readings for the book. So you need to make sure you read the chapter, which is shown on the syllabus, before you take the quiz. So watch the video, read the chapter, or read the chapter, or watch the video, and then take the quiz. There's 25 points out of 100 assigned to these quizzes. There's going to be 14 quizzes in this class. Each one will be 2.5 points each. Each quiz will consist of 5 questions, so each one is a half a point. And each quiz is going to be exactly 5 minutes. It'll be timed on D2L. So you can expect quizzes throughout the course to make sure that you're doing the readings. And since this is an online course and I can't tell that from a classroom, we have to do it this way. Then there's going to be discussion posts. Discussion posts will be worth 40 points of your grade out of 100. There will be 13 discussion questions. They occur the class after there's a quiz. And in the discussion questions, I'm going to ask you to assess your analysis of the readings and to provide and to look at the samples of the media content that I provide in the discussion questions. So I might provide a link to a French magazine and then give you a discussion question from the chapter asking you to answer a question that I pose based on what you've read and applying it to the French magazine. So there's 14 quizzes. I'm going to drop the lowest 4 quiz grades, and that'll leave you 11 quizzes that will count towards your score for the course. Discussion posts, I kind of lost my train of thought there. 40 points. There's 13 discussion questions. They are 4 points each. And there will be a total of 10 graded, so 3 of them will be dropped. Each discussion post has to be 200 words. I give you a window of 190 words to 210 words to hit that mark. But if you go over 210 words, even 211, then I start to deduct points. Or 189, I start to deduct points. It's the only way that I can apply the same standard to all students in the class. Also, the way that those discussion posts are written, they should be written in formal, academic, carefully proofread, checked for spelling, those kinds of posts. Do not use the small letter I or any other means of what we call texting language in your posts. These are supposed to be academically and carefully written. Moving next to the research paper. The research paper is worth 25 points in the class, and going along with this is something called a proposal, which is worth 10 points. So together they're worth 35 points. And the research paper is going to be a 12 to 15 page paper where you compare a U.S. media sample with a sample from another country. And I'll give you the guidelines for that paper later on in the course. To get you started in the right direction and to get you feedback before you dive headfirst into your full-fledged research paper, we'll have a proposal that's due first. That's worth 10 points, and that'll be 2 pages. And I will give you the guidelines for that later in the course as well. All right, now as far as course etiquette goes, you'll probably have need to email me during the course. And if you do, I want you to please use a salutation. Email is not texting, it's more formal, and we need to make sure that we train our students to be able to communicate in email style when they graduate. Otherwise, their employment prospects and lots of other things will be hampered by that. So course etiquette requires you to use a salutation. Don't just send me a question. When does the chapter need to be read by? No, that's not an appropriate email. The salutation is Dr. Mackenzie or Rob or Professor Mackenzie or hello or greetings. That's how you begin an email. Also, again, no texting language in your emails, no small I, no use of the letter U to stand for the word you. I think you know what I mean. All right, also part of course etiquette is plagiarism. Any work that you present in this class must be your own. You're not permitted to cut and paste sentences from the web or anything else and put them into your discussion posts. If you want to use ideas that others have written, you have to give them proper citation, and hopefully you know how to do that by this point at the 400 level class level at ESU. If there are cases of plagiarism, I'll just turn them over to the Office of Conduct and then let them deal with them. Next up on the syllabus is something called a Title IX statement. And that basically is a statement that's very relevant today that guarantees that you are to be operating in a classroom, a virtual classroom that is free of sexual and any other kind of harassment. And then it talks in that long paragraph about what your recourse is if you believe that there has been a violation in those areas. All right, turning now to the tentative schedule of events. Right now, we're watching the instructor video. I'm introducing the course, and I'm introducing the syllabus. And now I'm going to give you your very first assignment. And your very first assignment is to post a 2-minute video answering the questions that I've listed under the Content tab. And you are to post that video by tomorrow at noon. And that video should answer those questions. And the way that most students do it is they record the video, they upload it to YouTube, and then they post a link to the video on D2L. It's up to you if you want to follow that path, if you want to try and upload your video directly to D2L, or if you want to do it through some other means. Okay, so this is basically wrapping up our first day of the class, Comparative Media. The next step is next class, and that's Thursday. And if you look at the syllabus, you'll see that we have Chapter 1 assigned. So you've got a quiz coming up on Thursday, and it's going to be all based on Chapter 1 and anything else that I cover in the instructor video. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, please send me an email, and I'll be responding very, very quickly. Otherwise, have a great day, and welcome to Comparative Media.